Hey guys, welcome back. We have Dr. Zeller back with us today, Stephanie. But thanks for coming back. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And I like how we're framed today. Like I feel like my head's the same size as yours and I'm not too far forward or back.
Was it different last time?
No, I just get like when I can't figure that out, it bothers me. I'm trying to figure this stuff out as we go. But we had an interesting little chat just over text about, some ideas. And I know we're both on social media, right, obviously. And I have a surgery account now, the podcast stuff I started last year. I know you do a lot of stuff online and you have courses that you do. And there's so many people kind of in our respective, niche, basically. And it's hard not to like look at their content or compare yourselves to other people, right? I mean, I think it's natural, right? To compare?
Yeah. I mean, well, I think we've been trained to from a young age. So I think that we all do it. Yeah.
Do you think it's worse now with social media? Like
Oh, for sure.
I feel like that ratcheted that up. Can you imagine like 20 years ago, before Facebook and all that stuff, even before MySpace, I guess. When I was in high school, back then we didn't have all that stuff, right? And it's completely different. Like you would get magazines and look at newspapers to get stuff or the news or something like that. But now you're like, you see everything all the time. What other people are doing, like what other dentists are doing, like I'm an oral surgeon, right? And so it's uncommon for me to open my feed, my social media stuff and see other surgery posts and things like that and go, oh, wow, that guy's doing a lot of crazy stuff. But it's so hard to kind of not fall into that trap of comparing yourself and second guessing what you're doing in your life, just from social media, just from what you see online, what you hear about from friends. But I'm really curious to see how because you do classes on this stuff, essentially, right?
Yeah, well, I coach a lot of different kinds of people. Usually they're high achievers, top performers in their field. And as I said on our last chat, a good proportion of those are dentists. So I have a lot of dentists that I coach and that go through my courses. And a lot of them struggle with comparison to varying degrees, some of them significantly. So it's something that we definitely work on.
Yeah, I mean, social media, if you really look at it, it's just point out that it's like a highly curated feed, right? You're seeing like a highlight reel of people's stuff, essentially. I don't think of it as true life. Like even when I look at other people's surgery posts or things like that, I know it's highly curated, it's edited, a lot of it's edited for socials. And then like say you do a cool case and then like 5 months later, part of that case fails. Like a lot of people don't post that failure, right? They're like, ugh. They may archive that post later or may just leave it up if it was popular, but it's not like that. So I always think about it now as like, yeah, what I'm seeing, is great. And maybe they're doing this all the time, which is cool too. I don't look at it the same as I used to. Like I don't compare myself. I try not to look at other people's stuff, honestly. I know I'm like, look at my stuff, but I don't want to look at your stuff, basically. It's kind of how I roll. So I don't do a lot of engagement. I don't know how you manage that or how you kind of coach people to get around that.
Yeah, well, I think that's one thing that you learn being a content creator is you start to learn how you're curating your feed. And then I think it cues you into the fact that everybody is doing that creates a lot of content. Whereas I think a lot of dentists in particular aren't necessarily creating a lot of content. They're just consuming it. And so they're not aware of the fact that a lot of that is being curated. We can create these narratives or stories in our head that, oh my gosh, every case this person puts out is perfect and their life is perfect and their practice is perfect and their team is perfect. And I see clients of mine, dentists in particular, that are comparing themselves not just through social media, but they're comparing themselves in so many ways. The success of their practice monetarily and the success of their team and the success of the kind of patients that they're attracting or treating. They're talking to colleagues at like CE courses and comparing themselves there. They're comparing themselves to the speakers, to the specialists. So there's just so
for sure
much comparison, and it's easy to get caught in this comparison trap and then think that you're not doing everything right. Even I find that when you feel like you do something right, if you hop on social media right after, you might find a case that looks maybe just slightly better, and then all of a sudden that good feeling that you had goes away because now you're comparing yourself again.
And I was just going to add to that, like when people, like when I compare, and I know other people do this too, is there's a little complex of emotions that kind of get through that. Sometimes it's like jealousy. It's like, oh man, how's that person doing all this? Like, I think the example is people that, I'm just generalizing, I know this isn't always true, but people I think that, in my view, that post a ton about their social life, like their significant other, like they're doing all these things, too much. Like, I feel like that's a sign of like things probably aren't going well. I feel like it's too
Sometimes,
much.
yeah.
Like, and when it's like that, sometimes it's too much. That's kind of how I perceive it as, and I think there's some truth to that. It's not every case is like that. But the same thing about the work you do. Like you're showing all these cases, that people are consuming, and you don't really show your mess ups, and so I think that's hard to figure out. But yeah, even me, like I find myself like sometimes I look at people's stuff because it's on the top of my feed, but I don't do a deep dive. I don't like search for people really much at all, actually. And so I kind of just do what I do. I don't want to be influenced by other people. I just want to do what I do. But what's fun now is to see people kind of do what I do and do the same thing the same way I do it. So they're watching my stuff and doing it the same way. And so that's
You mean
pretty
their
interesting.
content looks exactly like your content?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to happen. That's what social media is. People copy other people, and often the copycats do it, or they get more popular, right? Because they may do it a different way. I feel that's how it works. Like they'll see an idea, they'll try to do it, and then maybe they go viral copying someone else. I feel like that's how it works. And I feel like a lot of it's staged. It's not true. What I try to show is like real life stuff. Like if a root breaks or something when I'm taking out a tooth, I try to show that because that's what happens in real life. And how do I manage that? Or if there's bleeding, like I'll show that because that's what happens. It's not just pretty for Instagram, I know, but it is kind of day to day, as far as what we do. And then there's like anxiety that people get, right? When they look at other people's stuff or see other people's lives or even social lives, right? I feel like they can get anxious or envious, restless and things like that. So I don't know how you deal with all that with your professionals that you work with.
Well, yeah, so there's a lot of reasons why we compare. First of all, I think it's somewhat habitual. I think that even just growing up, we were taught to compare. We were taught to compare how we did on tests versus our peers or sports growing up. There were so many ways that we compared, and we compared too because we wanted to be liked, like we wanted to fit in, we wanted to do things right. So it's sort of, we're bred to consistently compare. And I find that I have an array of clients that I work with. The ones that compare the most are often the ones that haven't discovered their own gifts and strengths yet.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and the ones that compare the least are the ones that have really taken the time to get to know who they are authentically and to uncover their own gifts and strengths. And when we uncover who we are authentically and our own gifts and strengths, our mindset shifts. Instead of trying to be like everyone else, we start to want to actually stand apart and to shine and to understand what makes us feel fulfilled and what essentially draws good attention to us. And then it starts to get really fun because then we can be really creative and we can be ourselves. And that's really when people start to feel more satisfaction and fulfillment in their life. And what I found is that most people have it backwards. We think that in order to be really happy and fulfilled and do it right and have a successful business, we need to copy off of everyone else that we think is successful. But what works for somebody else may not work for you, like may not bring you satisfaction, may not bring you success. If somebody has a lot of success in an aesthetic practice, your strengths may be surgery. But if you try to compare and copy the person who has a successful aesthetics practice, you're not going to be happy because that's not even your strengths. So I think having the mindset shift of starting to ask yourself, instead of comparing myself to everyone and trying to be like everybody else, what if I just ask myself, like, who am I? And what are my specific gifts and strengths? What's going to set me apart? What's going to make me feel special and unique? And then really lean into those. And the people I think that we often compare ourselves to in the world are the people that have done that. The people that have identified what their gifts or strengths are, and they're shining really bright in an authentic way. And that's what's actually magnetic about.
So really, like what you're saying is like there's a little bit of inner work that needs to be done to make yourself understand what you like to do, what you're comfortable doing, and what you're happy doing. If you don't do that and you just kind of look at other people's stuff and try to emulate it, and because you think they're happy, like that's where people get in that trap, and it's real easy to do, right? Yeah.
Right.
And so you got to do the inner work first. It sounds simple. It's not. I think most people don't do it. I didn't even do it for a long time. Like it took me a while to even figure that out on my own. And I think part of that is just getting older. And it's just kind of with aging, you've kind of seen it, you've been through it. And I think that experience helps. The problem with that is there's going to be a point when you're so old, you're like, aha, you're like, and you got like 2 years left, you're like, all right, well, I wish I would have known that earlier. But, like that, the whole social media thing, look at other people's stuff or, like, it's like a dopamine pathway, isn't it? I don't gamble, but I feel like when you let's just say you do a cool reel and it blows up. Like it blows up more than you even thought. And what happens usually with those is the ones you don't think are going to do well do really well. It's just weird how that works sometimes. You're like, I don't even know why this one did well. I didn't like it. But then it's like a dopamine response. It's like people who gamble and they get a little money, or they make some money really quick. I feel like it. Or like a DJ controlling a party, right? You're playing all the right songs and you're seeing people kind of get up and react to what you're doing. I feel like that's kind of like what social media is. You put out stuff and you kind of gauge the engagement, the likes, the comments, the posts, the forwards, the bookmarks, whatever it is. And I feel like it's a very similar pathway, right? To me, that's what it seems like.
Well, it for sure is. I mean, it's like you're holding a little casino in your hand. And
I think
that
it's the same
dopamine,
thing.
that dopamine addiction essentially happens both ways. It happens when you're scrolling and you're getting so much content and you're not the one that's even putting out the content, you're the one that's consuming it. Yeah. And it happens when you're the one that's posting and then you're waiting to see how it does. And I think about this a lot, about how I want to modulate the amount of dopamine that I'm stimulating in an artificial way versus the amount of dopamine that I'm generating endogenously. That's something that I am really conscious of putting my phone away, maybe going outside, going for a walk, or connecting with another human being to get a more real, sustainable source of dopamine. Because what happens with social media is you get that huge dopamine high and then it's a crash. I'm sure everybody listening can relate to, they get off the phone and they feel like shit.
It's like after a doom scroll, right?
Yes. You're like, wow, I don't feel better.
How many people have not have doom scrolled at night? You're like in bed and you, for whatever reason, you kind of open your eyes and you turn over and your phone's charging next to you and you grab it and you start, you doom scroll. And sometimes it could be 20 minutes. Sometimes it could be an hour or more, right?
Right. And that's something else I was going to say was that I've noticed that I pick up my phone more when I'm dopamine depleted or tired.
Oh, yeah, I do that at night. And I still, I try to put it further away. So my issue is I get jealous of people that sometimes, you text somebody past a certain hour in the evening and it says their phone is not pushing the text.
Yeah.
And if you really want it to push, that you can do it or whatever. They have it set like that, right? It's a privacy setting or whatever, or focus. I get jealous of people that do that because I feel like I can't do that because as a surgeon, a lot of times I'm on call. I have to they'll call me or page me and everything comes through my phone. It's not a pager anymore, right? And so it has to be there. Or if you have kids or somebody with a medical issue, kids with a medical, you got to have your phone near you in case there's an issue. So I feel like I can never really do that. And I get jealous of people that can do that. I'm like, oh man, that's cool to do. I wish I could do that. So I always feel like I have to be connected. I don't have an iWatch or an Apple Watch or anything. It's just the phone. But for people that have both, I'm like, that's a lot. I feel like you're always connected. But yeah, I don't know. Do you do that? Are you able to just put it on focus mode or something and just zone out at night?
I put it in another room.
You do that? That's awesome.
Well, not all night, but
for
chunks of time.
That's a good idea.
Because I've found that if it's in the same room, it's almost like I can feel it there.
Yeah.
And I'm so much more tempted to mindlessly pick it up. And then all of a sudden I look at my phone and I've been on it for 20 minutes and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
That is a good idea.
But if I put it in another room, I actually notice a difference in the way that I feel the second I put it in another room. It's like I'm relieved. And no wonder, it's literally an addiction, for everyone.
It is.
So when you put the thing that you're addicted to in another room, it can feel like a relief.
Sometimes it's just say you put it down for a little while and you pick it up and you have no notifications of anything. It's like a downer sometimes. You're like,
yeah, because you didn't get the dopamine hit.
I know. It's like that. It's like,
and that's exactly what I mean by
Yeah.
And that's when I feel that when I pick it up and I didn't get any notifications and I feel that sense of, I know I'm dopamine depleted. And that's when I'll actually put my phone away and go find another source of dopamine, like a quick workout or connecting with somebody or a walk outside, something to stimulate me in a way where when I get the dopamine, I won't crash afterwards.
Right.
And I don't do it every time. Sometimes I mess up.
No, I know, but I don't even do that. I think I should probably do something like that, just put it upstairs or something. That's why I never used to study at home. When I was in college and dental school and stuff, I had a hard time studying at where I lived because I would always have these distractions. I'd go to a library or somewhere quiet where I feel like I could zone out better. And it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah.
You know? your phone's near you now, and everyone has either a phone or a watch or some way to look at stuff, pretty quickly. So that's a good idea. I think I would definitely try to do that. Just kind of get it out of sight for a while. Even if it's like for 30, 40 minutes, I think would be helpful for me.
Right.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I think taking breaks from your phone and social media can be so helpful when it comes to comparison. And it makes me think of, Rick Rubin is a music producer, and
Oh
he
yeah,
has
Beastie
this,
Boys, Run DMC, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
And so at his production studio, Shangri-La, I remember hearing on another podcast, SZA talking about how she went to go record with Rick Rubin, and she went to Shangri-La, and there they have no clocks, no TVs, and you don't have your phone. And so there's something to removing all this external stimulation that helps you drop into yourself. And then when you do that, when you start to remove all of that, she said by like day 8, all of a sudden this whole album just started pouring through her. And this is part of what I advise clients to do then when they really get caught in comparison trap is when you're constantly consuming what other people are doing. It's so much noise, you can't hear yourself. You can't hear your own thoughts. You can't have any creative ideas. If you are a content creator yourself, it's hard to actually start having creative ideas to create your own content because you're just like everybody else's face and content and everything is in your head.
Right.
So if you can take a break from it, then all of a sudden you'll start to, like, your ideas will start to come online. And that is also when your confidence comes online. Like when you start to realize that you have all of this creativity and that you're special and unique in your own way, that's when your confidence starts to grow. So we can truly get caught in this comparison spiral and just go down and down and down and feel worse and worse and worse about ourselves. And all the while, we're losing touch with ourselves. We're losing touch with what makes us special and unique and what will actually make us happy and fulfilled. Or we can take a break from that so that sort of our true self can come online and we can start to realize how amazing we actually are. And that's like the main thing that I work with clients on is showing them how amazing they actually are because they don't know. They're so disconnected from it.
I had
because
no
they've been
idea
listening to
about
everyone
stuff
else.
like that about myself. Yeah. Not that I'm amazing, but
well, you are.
Literally.
As is everyone listening, for sure.
Yeah, in my own way. But no, I really didn't understand that, and I glossed over it. I looked at other people's, lives and things, and it's just real easy to do that. And kind of like what we're talking about, like you get so old, and it's like, oh, you finally feel like you figure it out, but then it's like 3/4 of your life is gone, and you're like, damn it. What I learned to do is sounds stupid, like positive affirmations about myself and things. Yeah, what I do is good. I think what I do is good. I did it. It works. Like little things like that help me feel better about what I do. Little wins at work, like when a patient gives you a thank you card, it's a card, like they made it or they took the time to buy a card or whatever and write something on it and mail it to you even. That's cool. You don't have to do that. It's just the thought that someone actually would take their time to do that for a procedure that they paid for and then send you a card. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about that though is that you're letting yourself kind of receive that.
Yeah.
Versus people that feel so bad about themselves and they're comparing so much and they haven't realized how they're amazing. They will receive some of those things, but then discount them immediately. It's almost like they don't even happen. They're just bouncing off.
It's hard. It took me a long time to learn how to accept compliments. Does that sound weird?
No,
people
that's so common.
over the years would compliment me on things and I just kind of gloss it over and just kind of change the subject. It's made me uncomfortable. And I didn't feel like that was normal. Now, I take the time to acknowledge it because someone took their time to say or do that. I think that's important. So
yeah, I recommend that when clients of mine receive compliments or gifts or just thank yous, that they just pause and put their hand over their heart and just take a breath. Just to take a moment. Because I think, especially dentists, I found, are so hard on themselves and they're always just looking for what they're doing wrong. Right. And then when someone tells them they've done something right or done something amazing, we have a negativity bias that we just block it out. It's almost like it doesn't even happen. And then we go around thinking nothing good happens to us. When actually good things are happening, you're just not noticing it because you've been so trained to only notice the bad things you're doing.
Yeah, and there's another version of that, like a bizarro version of that, where people are negative to other people online a lot. And I see this a lot because I do post and people comment from around the world, and culturally there's differences on I think how people interact, but also people are so negative, like on especially dentists, like worldwide. And I feel like, the negative comments, like almost they sound ignorant, the comments. And what's interesting to me is like, I went through dental school and medical school, and I don't really see that kind of posting on medical sites as much as I do like dental sites. I don't know, for whatever reason, I feel like the dental sites have more of that troll stuff going on, trolling by people.
Yeah.
But people that post negatively all the time about other people and just kind of berate them and say, hey, that never happens. You did that wrong. Like that's how they lead. That's a problem.
Well, I think that, we as humans will often do that when we already feel so bad about ourselves that what we're trying to do is make someone else wrong so we can feel more right, so we can feel superior.
Yeah, these are trolls. We're talking about like trolls on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, those people, like, that actually never works. When we put other people down to try and make ourselves superior, we don't usually feel that much better.
It's like the bully. Like, they're the ones who's insecure.
Right.
It's like literally how I feel like they are. And like, the more that you engage with these people, it's kind of what they want. They just want that validation that, whatever it is, and then like that confrontation almost. And I'll just block them. I don't talk to them. I just or not even just respond. It's not worth my time. Sometimes other people will comment and help out, but other than that, I don't really do much.
Yeah, and those are unfortunately the people that are most unhappy. So I think sometimes it's helpful to remember that if you get a negative comment of like, well, this person's obviously not happy.
Yeah, that's how I always feel when I see those. Like, they're not, like, that's, it's not even worth my time. I'm not going to I'm not going to psychologically manage them over a couple messages on an online post. I'm not.
Yeah.
It's their issue, not mine. So trolls is pretty interesting psychology.
I love the positive affirmations that you said you used to use. A trick that I will sometimes have clients do with positive affirmations, because sometimes people think positive affirmations and they think like, that's bullshit, or that's woo-woo, or that doesn't work, like positive psychology. But a way that I found that it really works with my clients is if their positive affirmation is something that they believe. So sometimes people will try and use positive affirmations like, I'm amazing, everything I do is right, but then deep down they don't feel that at all, and those don't work. In fact, they could actually make you feel worse. So what you want to do with a positive affirmation is have it be something that you believe, so you can kind of titrate it down. You can almost just be like, I did one amazing thing today and I feel great about that, or I'm working towards becoming a master at my craft, or I have a lot of success, something that just feels true. What were some affirmations that you used?
Like little things, like I would notice things during the day that are little wins, like I said, and those mean a lot to me, like if it's a little thing. And also like, if a staff member like did something really well or efficiently, I acknowledge them, and to see them like take that and, smile and say, oh, thanks. I think I went out of my way to do that to somebody else, like almost like paying it forward. So kind of for me, it's a give and take with that, because I feel like it's not all me getting affirmations. It's also doing it to other people. And that also makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's like an energy of gratitude.
Yeah, it's something about that. And like last week I went like across the street, the little girls across the street had a lemonade stand, and I went to get some lemonade because they're neighbors, I'm like, oh, I'll support them. They had a little lemonade stand. It was, kind of sunny in Seattle, so I did that. And they're like, I'm like, how much? They're like 75 cents. I'm like, I was going to give them $1. That's all. I was going to say, keep the change. And like, oh no, it's pay it forward. Someone already paid for you. I'm like, oh, I wonder who did that. Like a neighbor, like paid it forward. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I'll pay one forward for the next person, And so like little things like that, I feel like are helpful. I felt it's a little thing, like a 75%, lemonade. But the fact that someone randomly did that and didn't know who's going to buy it next, it's kind of a good feeling I got from it.
Yeah.
So those things help. I think the little things like that are super helpful. It's not like a Chanel bag or anything, but it's like, for me, like that's what works. Little things like that. I don't need anything. I just like those kinds of things are wins for me. Also, I think besides the affirmations, it's like I've made a point now to like mute people on socials that I find annoying or fake. Too fake, I would say. Like, I feel like it's just too much flash. It's too much. Like, I don't need to see like, all the Chanel bags people get and all the cars they have, if that's what you're posting all the time, and, I'll mute and unfollow. quite often. And so I'm like, I don't really want that in my feed because that's more of that comparison stuff that I don't really want to get into. So I do that. And I think that helps too. Clearing up your socials and stuff just from when you're checking it, you're not inundated all the time with stuff like that. And also following people that are more positive like you. So I like to follow, I found your stuff. I'm like, oh, this is, you get your daily doses of, positivity and mixed in with your feed. Now I get like a socket graph. I get you talking about being happy. And I'm like, yes, this is great. And like, it's a nice little mix, but that's important. I think following people like that, interacting, with that kind of energy is also helpful.
Yeah. Following people that inspire you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That I feel like are genuine and not just, all flash, that's important.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I think flash for some people is really authentic to them. Like that's what lights them up and makes them happy.
Yeah.
But that's the exact point in terms of identifying like who you are versus who somebody else is, what lifts you up and makes you feel good versus who somebody else is. And if you're not vibing or resonating with other people's stuff and it only brings you down or it triggers you, then you can always unfollow.
Right. No.
Yeah, but I find people don't, which is interesting. Like they have people in their feed that end up bringing them down. So, and the other thing is that this is another little mindset shift if you can do it. If you follow people that you feel like do better, like clinical work than you, for instance, if you can look at them as a source of inspiration versus beating yourself up immediately, because every clinician developed their skills. Yes, some are naturally more talented than others, but everybody had to work to develop it. And so if you can look at some of these accounts that you're looking at and think, okay, I can develop that too, you can actually use them as a source of inspiration. This was an interesting thing when I had a large dental account. I had a lot of people, I talked to a lot of people about dental porn and them feeling sometimes triggered by my dentistry because it looked so pretty. And I would tell them, like, could you look at this as a source of inspiration? Because I learned how to do this. I got good at this with practice.
I've been performing full arch dental implant surgery since 2012. I started back then with Nobel implants and I continue to use them today. Getting consistent results over time and seeing these restorations in function over that length of time has basically strengthened my use of the product. There's over 100 implant systems out there. I just choose the one that's been the most consistent for me.
And you can do the same thing.
Yeah. I think it's hard for a lot of people, and it was for me initially, because I didn't even, like my first 10 years of surgery, I never took pictures. Like there's so much stuff I did, never took photos. I just never took photos. I didn't start taking photos until like 10 years ago, really. And so like for me, like that didn't even start till late in my surgery career. And I feel like maybe people get in that rut where it's like, that's a lot of work. I gotta get a camera. I gotta do this. I gotta learn how to take pictures now. And like, I feel like they don't want to even start the process, but I feel like now it's more commonplace because of iPhones having good cameras. And, before you had to have a camera. Now you can use all sorts of cameras for various things. And so they're more around than having an SLR everywhere, like with a ring flash. Like you don't always need that. You can always get by with other things too. But I think that's a big deal too. It's just easier to do. It's more commonplace. People have social media more now. And so like, it's easy to take photos of everything.
Well, and if you're a dentist that doesn't post on social media, like you shouldn't post on social media unless you have a passion to. I've seen a lot of dentists, I've worked with a lot of dentists that they start posting on social media either about their practice or their clinical work because everybody else is doing it and they think they have to. And it's a drag. Can I say on this show?
I don't think so.
Okay. Like they hate it. They hate it so much.
You can say whatever you want. I actually had an edit button. I don't even know where I put it.
Okay.
No, that's not the edit button.
I got to get a hotkey.
They start posting on social media because they think they have to. And then it does terrible. Like their social media does terrible. And I think a lot of that is because they hate it. Like there's really something to people that love posting and do it for fun and do it out of passion. Those accounts are usually the ones that grow faster versus the people that do it just because they feel like they have to and they literally hate every minute of it. Like that, if you're doing that and you're listening to this, you do not have to do that. There are other ways for you to shine bright and be recognized and have success. You don't do things that you hate because they're not authentic to you then, and they're just going to drain your energy.
Oh yeah, I know when there were so many accounts like dental offices and orthodontics offices like 10 years ago or 8 years ago even. They hired people to run their social media, and they would have like Trivia Tuesday.
Well, that
and like
still
all this
happens.
is the worst. That is the worst. Don't ever do that. If your office is doing that, get rid of it. It's the worst. Yeah, no one wants that on their feed.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to share, think about other ways that you can share that are fun for you. Like maybe you want to start a podcast, or maybe you want to speak, or maybe you just want to share on your website. Like, but you don't need, not every office or every dentist needs a social media account.
Yeah, I agree with that. But you got to get yourself something, like whether it's to get people to connect with you a little bit or find you or interact with you. Because there's so many Facebook groups. There's community Facebook groups for what my daughter needs an oral surgeon. Do you recommend anyone in this area? And like,
but a lot of times that's just referrals.
Yeah,
right?
I know. But then they're like, you got to contact them somehow. Like, I feel like there's definitely a need for websites and some sort of, I would still say some sort of social media, whether it's account that you barely post on, but people can still interact with. I don't know. I think it's a big
I've
deal
had
now,
plenty of clients that have a lot of success without social media at all.
Really?
So I think I think it's what's authentic to you. Like for you, it's really authentic to you to post on social media, and that's why you have so much success with it, because you like it and you're good at it and you're really authentic with it. But for somebody that hates it, I'm just telling you, like we very rarely have success when we do things that we hate and we're super inauthentic with. And if you hate something and you're doing it, it's inauthentic. You can't do something you
That's
hate
where you get the
and
Trivia
do it
Tuesdays,
authentically.
you know?
Yeah, totally. Like, and
like, oh,
sometimes,
man,
sometimes if you do have a social media account and you can find someone that actually loves it to run it, then it could actually be a cool account. Like, I love some of these accounts that have like Gen Zers running their accounts, and they're hilarious.
Yeah, people have the time. People are so funny online. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at some people's stuff. I'm like, God, they're just so funny. Like they're just naturally funny. Like they can make any situation almost comical.
Wait, Gen
that's a
Z is
gift.
the really young group, right?
I don't even know. I don't even go
Well,
by
I'm talking
terms.
about like the group after. Yeah, it's
Millennial?
Gen Z.
I don't
yeah,
even
it's
know.
the group after millennials.
Okay,
Pretty sure
yeah.
it's Gen Z.
I don't know. I'll ask chat later. But yeah, like, like curating my feed has helped me like eliminate some of that stuff and selectively not going on other people's stuff. And, what's funny is in like 5 years since I've been on social media, essentially since COVID, like that's when I really got on it with my work stuff, like late 2020-ish. And I rarely ever comment on other people's stuff. Sometimes they tag me and like almost you feel like you have to respond like, hey, fire, fire, fire. And, I don't even do that because I feel like it's stupid. But like something like, like good job, strong work, something. Sometimes it's stressful to think of something to say. I'm like, I don't even know. I've got to get to see this patient. I go, what am I going to say? Think of something because they tag me. But I made it a point not to interact with other people's stuff. But what's funny is last week, for whatever reason, I'm like, I need to start engaging more on socials because I don't ever engage with other people's stuff. And
Did
they
you
definitely
enjoy
engage
doing
with
that?
mine. I kind of did. I felt like it was more.
We can go through seasons of what we like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I feel like it was more, I got more out of it. And I was reading about this too. Like if you're just consuming media and you're not engaging with it, it's really like you get that crash. But if you're engaging, like you take the time to write, message people and get responses and message back from it, that's a different thing. That's actually healthier. That's what I think. That's how I felt about it. So I made like 3 comments on puberty. I don't think I've ever said puberty out loud, but I think a lot of people follow that account for memes and things. And I made a couple comments on some posts, and like one of them had like 30,000 responses and like likes, and like they blew up. Like the comments, like the 3 comments.
Your comment had 30,000 likes.
My comment on one of my comments had like almost 30,000 likes, and then like a bunch of comments after that, and it just took off on its own as its own. Yeah. And then like another one had like 15,000, and like another one, like I'm like, whoa, because now I opened up the Instagram. I almost said the Instagram. Oh my God. I opened up Instagram and like I'm like, wow, that comment really blew up. The Facebook. It really blew up. I'm like surprised. Like the 3 comments I made last week, like they blew up. I'm like, maybe I should comment more.
I wish people would engage with me more on my Instagram account. People engage with me quite a bit on my TikTok account, and that's why I think I prefer TikTok different. More. Yeah. But I wish my followers would engage with me more because it's super fun. But I have a question for you.
What you need is someone to like break the seal and start I think sometimes that's hard.
Did you find that when you started sharing on social media more, that you started comparing less?
It took me a little while because I was new to it and people had already been on it.
Oh, so you were
sharing.
comparing when you first started?
Not as much as not a lot. I mean, like,
Okay.
so like in my niche, there was the bloody tooth guy. There was other people doing oral surgery stuff that were really big because they had done it like for 5-6 years before that. And before all the algorithms, kind of are against it now with that kind of content. I looked at some of the posts, but I made it a point not to. Like, I literally don't. Like, if they're on the top of the feed, I'll skip it. Like, because I didn't want to be influenced by influencers because I don't want to be a copycat. Like, I wanted my own ideas.
Well, yeah, and that helps you have more creative ideas. That's exactly why I follow 0 people on Instagram.
I saw that. I'm like, you see that like Kanye West? I follow 0. I follow Bianca Sensori or whatever.
But I mean, I do that for my own mental health and well-being. That like,
Plus, it kind of
it's not
looks
to say
cool. I think it looks cool. Follows 0. I should
do it to be
remove all my
cool.
follows and go 0.
Yeah, I do it to be cool for sure.
Yeah, it's like,
It's not to say I don't look at other people's content when it feels right to me, or that I don't like other people's stuff, or I, don't comment or that kind of thing. But I feel like when I follow 0 people, it gives me just more control, and then I can choose when I do it. But the other thing that I'll say is, and this is why I asked that question, is I found with my clients, especially the ones that take my career course, Your Life's Work at the Transformation School, is that when they start to discover what makes them amazing and what their very unique gifts are and what they're really actually very good at and what they really enjoy, they start to compare less. And that also goes for those that, because I have a lot of clients that will actually then get on social media during the course of me working with them, and they'll start sharing on social media. And the more that they share themselves, the more they get out there, the less they're comparing themselves to other people. It's just interesting to think about, because this is definitely a trend I've noticed, is the people that are like the most quiet, don't really share who they are. They're afraid of doing everything wrong. They're afraid of being judged.
that's
Those
how I
are
was
also
for a
the
very
ones.
long time. It took me a long time to even get
Yeah.
on video. I hate it. Like, I hated it, the thought of it.
Well, that's inspiring for someone listening, that you used to hate it and you used to be afraid of being
totally
judged.
hated it. Because if
And
you
now
look at all
look at
my
you.
content for since 2020, all my content, I was barely on the camera. Like, it's all me recording something, like with a head camera on, like showing the surgery. It wasn't me on, like, I wasn't on stories showing what I'm unboxing. It was nothing like that. It was just, all my stuff is really just me, like, showing the work, not my face ever. Hardly
Yeah,
ever.
so anybody listening, look.
Yeah. I don't like.
I mean,
didn't
it really
it
does
was
take
uncomfortable.
practice.
Like, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's still like to hear your own voice. Like, oh, that sounds like crap.
Yeah, I remember when I first
it.
started my very first podcast, like the first few episodes, it was super cringe. I
It's
was like,
cringy.
oh God.
Even like the first podcast, I've only done 20. This is 21, or this will be 23. But the first couple I did, like, I was micromanaging that editing so hard. Like, oh, I
Yes.
didn't like and I was looking at my face was doing and editing that. I'm like, I don't even care what my face is doing anymore. I'm like, whatever. It's the words, it's the flow. That's more important to me.
Yeah, but you did it anyway. And that's the thing, is like when we start creating and doing our own things in the world and taking the risk and doing it anyways because you're scared, like we're all scared the first time we do things, then I've found the comparison naturally starts to subside.
Yeah, it totally did. It took me a while to even do it. And I just had, like, last year, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do something different and add a completely different, because I feel like it's a broader reach too, which is nice. It's like PG-13 PG, so it's kind of, broader reach also. It's not blood and gore,
This
other stuff
podcast, well,
is.
maybe this episode might be R because of the amount
Yeah.
of swearing I've done.
We'll see. Yeah, those little things, like, those podcasts are weird. But yeah, like, so are there traits between people that compare and don't compare, like, that you've seen your the people that you work with? Or you want to gear them, like, you get someone in that's really bad with it and you kind of help them out, and what changes in
The
them?
ones that I've noticed compare the most are often the ones that had the strictest, most critical parents growing up.
Yeah, okay.
Like they never did anything right. They felt like they were never good enough. This is also common. I mean, like I have a lot of Asian clients. This is really common in Asian households.
It
It's
is,
really
yeah.
strict.
Yeah. Math
Yeah.
and science, baby. That's what we got.
That's but I mean, I have clients of all ethnicities, and it's
Yeah.
everybody has experienced. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people have experienced it. But I found that it's the people that are worried they're not good enough and that got criticized a lot as a child, and then it's also people pleasers. So people that are really afraid of judgment and they want to be like the good girl, the good boy, and like they want to do everything right. The ones that compare less and are more willing to create and kind of explore are the ones that kind of have like a rebel energy to them. They're the ones that have trained themselves to do things even though they're afraid. So, and anyone, like I've seen people that are really scared and in people-pleasing energy and afraid of doing the wrong thing. I've seen them change and become more brave and bold and do things even though they're scared. In fact, that's actually part of my program, Your Life's Work, is that like we bring them through so that they can do that. And when they start doing that, their confidence just skyrockets. So the people that compare a lot, they can transform into the people that compare less and be more confident. But I think it's a matter of doing things even if you're going to be judged. Like anybody that shares content, we get trolls. I mean, that's just part of it, but we do it anyway. In fact, I actually lean into the controversy. I really like controversy now. To me, it like makes me giggle. It excites me. I think
Do you
it's
ever
funny.
like message a friend, hey, I got this troll. You want to, give me a supportive message? Like, on my thing. I think that's funny, get a bunch of surgeons on there to like comment back. I think that's funny. But it's almost like, what's the point to me? Like now it's like, I think it's funny to see that. And sometimes it's a little bothersome if there's a troll comment and then like there's like 7 likes by their comment. I'm like, who are these people? It's like it's ridiculous. But yeah, it rolls off my back a lot more than it used to be honest with you. So now it's not a big deal. I don't like it because no one wants to see that, but it's still like almost giggly, makes me
And
laugh
that's
a
the
little
thing
bit.
that comes with just doing it and experience. Like, I think that's the thing when people are really afraid or they're just comparing, but they're having trouble trying the new thing or believing in themselves. It's a step-by-step process. If you just take tiny steps every single day to believe in yourself just a little bit more and to do something that scares you, you really will get to the point where you care less and less about what people think and you get more and more brave.
No, I think that's important. So basically, besides like the positive affirmations and things like, really like what's the point of all this? Like we're talking about comparisons and things. And I think what we had talked about at the very beginning, like doing a little bit of that inner work first and figuring out on your own, like what makes you happy, what makes you want to do work, want to do this and that first, and then doing, and then taking it all in and looking at other people's stuff if you want. I think that's helpful. But doing the inner work, basically increasing your self-awareness, like that's what's really helped me. Like I'm more aware about what I'm doing. If I'm doom scrolling, I know what I'm doing. I know, how that makes me feel. You're putting your phone in a different room. You know yourself, and you know how that affects you. I was waiting for him to show up. He's showing up at the end here. But on the lap, big guy. Yeah, so I think for me, it's like falling into that trap. I'm still going to fall into it. It's natural. It's just getting yourself out of it and squared up again and level again is what you need to work on as far as what I think for me. And I think I'm better at doing that now than I used to be. Like I'm more self-aware. I know what makes me tick, and I know that what triggers me is like, I don't want to get in that looking at other people's stuff and comparing all that stuff all the time because that makes me feel like crap. It's not what I like. So
Right.
I just do what I do, and I'm happy with the way I do it. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and I think just raising your, I would say almost baseline level of self-awareness and confidence.
How do you raise that? Like, how do you build confidence in people?
I think primarily it's doing the inner work to understand what makes you you and what your gifts are. And then also removing the things that are blocking you from owning those gifts. And it's like shifting out of, okay, I have to be like everyone else, or I have to be like this person who I think is successful, to becoming more self-aware of like, wait a minute, okay, what's going to make me feel happy? What's going to make me feel satisfied? What am I actually really good at? What do I enjoy doing? And then building a life around those things. And when you start to build a life around those things, and that becomes really important to you. And of course, like you're saying, that takes inner work to discover. And that's what I do at the Transformation School, is help people discover that. But once you've discovered that, what I found with all of my clients is that that baseline of confidence and self-awareness naturally raises. So now you have like a new set point. And once you're at this new set point, you never go back. Like once your confidence grows in an authentic way and you really discover who you are and what's going to make you happy and what you're good at, you never revert all the way back. So then when you're at that new set point, if you do start comparing, I found that you don't get so caught up. It's like you don't go all the way down the spiral anymore. You don't feel terrible about yourself and then, you end up sulking, or you have to go drink, or you have to do whatever to like feel better. You're now at this new set point, and that is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. And that's why inner work is so important to have a happy, fulfilling life. And what most people don't do is they don't realize the importance of the inner work. So their set point is low. They get caught up in the comparison trap. They don't know how to grow their confidence in an authentic way. So instead of identifying who they really are and what they're good at and what makes them feel good, they start copying and emulating and doing what everyone else is doing. And then they have to sort of fake it till you make it, which doesn't really work. And then there's like a fake confidence. And we can all feel when someone's pushing it and like faking their confidence.
I think part of that is psychology is like in these, trends on TikTok and things, like people are copying other people. Like I feel like the psychology of that is, I think it's interesting. I don't know, I could figure that out, but copying other people's stuff, trying to get maybe they got a lot of views and stuff on it. You want the same thing, or more. And I think
because you think that's what's going to make you happy.
Yeah, I know. And how many people are trying to do trends and things all the time? Like a lot of people,
Well, and trends like trends on TikTok and stuff can be really funny fun because you can put your own unique spin on it. But that's the
it's
key,
also a
right?
creative outlet. It can also be a creative outlet.
Yes,
That's how I use this stuff. Honestly, it's a creative outlet. Yeah.
It's like, why are you doing it? Are you doing it to be creative and to have fun? Or are you doing it to get liked and to feel important and to try and like build your confidence in a way that doesn't actually work?
Right. That's why I feel like a lot of that stuff is staged. Like when they have like something, I feel like a lot of it's fake because they want to get that validation for what they're doing, even though it's probably
And that is a bottomless pit. Like if you try to get validation and try and build yourself up just from social media, oh my God, it does.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Not
That's why the little wins
solution.
are helpful for me. I like that because that means a lot to me during the day. But I really appreciate you coming out. I mean, we could do a whole nother hour on this topic. Like, it's so interesting to me because everyone's going to fall in this trap. And what I've learned through the years is I know when I'm falling into that, what I need to do to get myself corrected and back to baseline. And I think you do too. Like you're putting your phone away, you're doing other things, what helps you out. And people have to find that, and figure out what makes them happy, kind of what we talked about, and then kind of level themselves better and not fall into that and just be stuck in it for a long time. Because it drains your energy, and
for sure.
it affects you in so many different ways, just at home, at work. It just follows you around, Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. You're welcome. Take care.
Cool.
All right.